What's up guys, AussiePlays here. Welcome back to another video. So in this video, I'm going to be breaking down the play PAX burst cross. This is in the vertical scheme and it's going to be one of the many plays I'll be breaking down in the MM20 season. This is what the play looks like in your playbook. You have 4 potential receivers. You have a receiver running a burst corner route. You have 2 receivers running crossing routes. And you have your halfback running to the flats. This is what the play looks like unflipped. You have your wide receiver 1 who is going to be motioning in pre-snap and he's going to be running one of the crossing routes. You have your tight end who's going to be staying in blocking. You have your slot receiver who is running the second crossing route. You have your wide receiver 2 who is going to be running the burst corner route. And you have your halfback who is going to be running to the flats. This is what the play looks like when flipped. Your wide receiver 1 is now going to be running the burst corner route. Your tight end is going to be running one of the crossing routes. Your slot receiver is going to stay in and block. And your wide receiver 2 is now the motion receiver pre-snap and he's going to be running the second crossing route. Your halfback is going to be running to the flats to the other side of the field. The 3 receivers you should be focusing on this play are your halfback and your wide receivers running the crossing routes. So in this situation, you can see that it is zone coverage because there is no defender trailing my receivers going across the field, or there is no defender following my halfback who is going to be running to the flats. Based on this screenshot, my halfback is going to be running to an area where there is no defenders, while my wide receiver 1 and my slot receiver are pretty much running into a crowded zone coverage. This is the zone coverage I believe my opponent is in. He has 4 deep zones, he has 2 medium zones and 2 in the flats. This is why I chose to throw to my halfback, as he is open and is a quick and easy read instead of waiting for my 2 wide receivers to clear those zone coverages. This is a highlighted picture of my 2 crossing routes. My 2 receivers are going to be running through some pretty tight zone coverages and they may be held up by those zone defenders. So here's the same play again. I see that it is zone coverage. There is no defender guarding the flats. I throw to my halfback and he picks up an easy first down. On this play, your potential receivers are going to be your halfback or your 2 receivers running the crossing routes. This is the zone coverage I believe the defense is in. It is 4 buzz flats. There are 4 deep zones. There's 1 middle zone. There are 2 middle outside zones and there are 2 defenders guarding the flats. I threw to my halfback on this play because he was the most open out of all 3. My A receiver, who is on the left side of the field, is going to be double covered. My X receiver is going to be covered by the safety, who is right next to him. My halfback has 2 defenders looking at him, but he is able to reach an open area and I'm able to get him the ball to pick up a few yards. The defense is in zone coverage. My 2 receivers are covered, so I throw to my halfback who picks up 4 yards. Once again, the 3 receivers you should be focusing on are your halfback and your 2 receivers running the crossing routes. This is the defense my opponent is currently in. He has 4 deep zone coverages and 2 middle zone coverages. The mistake I made on this read is that I tried to throw it to wide receiver 1, who is the B button. As you can see there, I have a zone defender who is staring directly at the quarterback. He is in a prime position to pick off that ball if I threw it too low, but since I pass led it to the left, it just got past him. The correct read would have been to throw the ball to the halfback who is going to be running to an unguarded area of the field. I should have thrown it to the halfback on this play, but he got caught up a bit on the O-line, so that's why I lost track of him. The reads you should be looking at against this defense are your halfback or your two receivers running the crossing routes. This is the zone coverage I believe I am facing right now. There are 4 deep zones and there are 2 medium middle zones. The 2 correct reads on this play would have been to throw to the halfback or to throw to wide receiver 2, who is the X button. So right now I can see that there is one zone defender who is going to be following my halfback, and there is one zone defender who's staring directly at my quarterback. So right now my wide receiver 2 is wide open and he's got an open area he's running up to, while the other zone defenders above him are focused on my wide receiver 1 who is running the burst corner route. My tight end, who is on the left side of the field, is getting double covered. I see that this is zone coverage. I look to hit my halfback, but he's covered, while my wide receiver 2 is wide open, and I'm able to pick up first down and get a lot of yards. These are the 3 potential reads on this play. Here's the zone coverage I believe the defense is in. There are 3 deep zones, there are 3 medium zones, and there is 1 flat defender. Here are the 2 open areas on this play. So I have my tight end running to the left side of the field. He has an open area as that safety above him is about 7 yards away. The second open area is my halfback who is running to the flats on the right side of the field. He is currently being trailed by only the linebacker, and there's going to be that cornerback who's going to come down to tackle him, but right now he's having vision on my wide receiver 1 who is running the burst corner route. Here's the play again. I know that there's zone coverage as there is no defender trailing my receiver going across the field. I see that my halfback is open. I'm able to hit him, get a truck, and pick up 10 yards. So the 3 potential receivers on this play are your halfback and your 2 receivers running the crossing routes. Your X receiver, who is going to be running the burst corner route, is also a potential read, but he's going to be double covered. This is the zone coverage I believe the defense is in. There are 3 deep zones, there are 2 flats and 2 medium middle zones. There are 2 open areas right now on the field. The first area is where my halfback is running to in the flats. If I bullet pass it to him, I may be able to get it to him before that flat defender comes down to break it up. The second open area is where my wide receiver 1, who is the B receiver, where he is running to. It is slightly behind and to the left of that linebacker who is sitting in the middle of the field in zone coverage. One thing to keep in mind is that if your O-line isn't good at pass blocking, then your first read should be your halfback. Most of the time he's open, but if he's not, then you can throw it away. Against this zone coverage, my O-line did a terrible job blocking, but I should have thrown the ball to my halfback instead of wide receiver 1 because he was catching the ball in a pretty contested area. Against this defense, the 3 primary receivers are going to be your running back and your 2 receivers running the crossing routes. This is the zone coverage I believe the defense is currently in. There are 3 deep zones, there is 1 middle medium zone, and there are 2 defenders guarding the flats. Right now against the zone coverage, there are 2 open areas of the field. The first area is to the right of my halfback in the flats. He is currently being covered by 1 linebacker. The second area is above that flat defender. This is where my wide receiver 2 is running towards, and currently there are no defenders close to it besides the safety, but he is looking at my wide receiver 1 who is running the burst corner route. As you can see here, the flat defender is looking at my halfback. My tight end, who is the A receiver, is double covered on the left side of the screen, and this leaves my wide receiver 2, who is under the X button, wide open, and he's able to get a soft spot into the zone and catch the ball. So this zone coverage, my halfback is covered for most of his route. I see that wide receiver 2 is open, so I semi-lob it to him with a pass lead, and he gets the first down. Even though this was against man coverage, your 3 primary reads are still going to be the same. You have your halfback and you have your 2 receivers running the crossing routes. It's hard to tell the difference between man and zone coverage pre-snap this year, but this is the man coverage assignments. So you see that there is a linebacker on my slot receiver and the safety is taking my halfback. So right now the mismatch is my wide receiver who is running against a linebacker, and they'll take that mismatch any day of the week. Against man coverage, more of the field is open for you to throw to. So you have your 2 areas for your crossing receivers, and you have your 3rd area for your receiver running the burst corner route. I wouldn't recommend throwing the ball to your receiver running the burst corner route unless it is against cover 1 man and he has separation and a lead on his man coverage defender. One thing to keep in mind for crossing routes against man coverage is that it can be pretty detrimental. Your receivers could run into each other or get slowed down when they run into the trailing defender. However, there is a high chance of you getting more separation if your receiver runs into the trailing man defender. It's hard to tell man versus zone coverage pre-snap, but I see that there are defenders trailing my receivers going across the field. My slot receiver gets some separation against this linebacker, and he gets the first down. Against this defense, your 3 reads are still the same as previously. So you have your halfback running to the flats, you have your wide receiver 2 who is going to be running a crossing route, and you have a tight end who is running a crossing route to the other side of the field. This play was against man coverage defense, so here are the man coverage assignments. So you have your halfback who is getting covered by the linebacker, you have a tight end who is getting covered by the middle linebacker, and you have your wide receivers who are getting covered by cornerbacks. Right now there are 2 open areas against this man coverage defense. So you have your area in front of your tight end who is your A receiver, and that is right underneath a zone defender for the safety. The second open area is to the right of your wide receiver 2. He has separation on his man coverage defender. So once again, for crossing routes against man coverage, there is potential for your receivers to get hung up if they bump into your other receiver or the defenders, but there is also a chance for your receivers to get more separation if their defenders run into each other. My receivers are covered well this time, but I see that my tight end has position on the linebacker, so I pass lead him to the left. He's able to catch the ball, beat the linebacker and the safety for the touchdown. Well, this wraps up my breakdown of the play PAX burst cross in the vertical scheme playbook. I gave you 9 examples, 7 of which were against zone coverages and 2 of which were against man coverages. Let me know in the comments section below which play you would like to see broken down next. As usual, if you enjoyed this content, leave a like. If you want to see more, click the subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.